Good evening, Chicago Geographer, or should I say Gavin?
Hello, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Thanks for making the time. So, how should I call you in this interview? Chicago Geographer or Gavin, which is your first name, as you wrote in your about page on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, either one's works. I'd say maybe let's go with Gavin today. Yeah.
All right, all right. You don't have to be careful because the acronym that you go by, when I believe you've been playing a bunch of Rainbow tournaments, we may talk about this during this interview, and sometimes I think he summarizes or uses the acronym CG, right, for you.
That's right. Yeah.
Not to be confused with another acronym, which is GC, someone else I've interviewed, which is Geography Challenges.
Yeah, we've been mixed up a few times before.
I see. Have you met in real life or not?
No, I wish, but no,
Okay.
sadly not.
Okay. We'll talk maybe about the World Cup because I noticed your absence at the World Cup. But we'll talk about all this. Just before we get started, I'd like for me and for our viewers to know a bit more about you. Any three keywords or three numbers or anything really that you'd like to share to best introduce yourself. Who is Gavin?
Yeah, so I guess one thing I'd say, and maybe is a little bit obvious to everybody, is that I'm a huge geography nerd. It's something I've loved ever since I can remember from being a young kid, and that's really what drives who I am as a person and the things I study at school and all of that. And then another thing I'd say is I'm a little more reserved than I might come across than through streams and videos. I found that making YouTube content and streaming is a way for me to sort of come out of my shell. But in real life, I'd say I'm much more of a reserved and quiet person. And then I guess a third word would be I'm very passionate about the things that I do, and I try to make things a little bit of a perfectionist in a way.
We'll talk about all this or many aspects of what you just shared in a few moments. Before we do that, it's interesting that you mentioned that doing YouTube is actually a way to overcome your reserved ways. It's something I've heard from Jake Lyons. I don't know if you probably know Jake Lyons from the GeoGuessr community, and he said exactly the same thing, and it was very interesting because you both come across as very structured, very composed, very confident in the way you create these videos and the way you interact even with me or in this interview. So it's very refreshing, I think, and very encouraging because you may be surprised, but those who know me maybe personally will not be surprised. I'm also somewhat of an introvert and sometimes a bit shy for all the wrong reasons and in the wrong circumstances in life. So I think it's very refreshing that you start off by saying this, maybe encouraging others to do the same thing or find other ways to get out of their shyness or introvert ways that they may have. Any thoughts around this aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something that I've noticed, as making videos and interacting with people in the community. It really helps you have a foundation and, just get to know yourself even better as well, and just, help you express yourself in a way that's, a little bit different than what you could in real life.
We'll talk about your streaming and your YouTube experience in a moment, as I said. Before that, I read on your About page, and I think I've read the same thing for the past year. So tell me if the content is still up to date, that you're 22 years old and you're a student at the University of Chicago. Is that still correct?
That is correct, yes.
So you don't age, right? I guess I've checked maybe like 10 months ago. So when's your birthday?
November 21st. Yeah.
November 21st. And you turned 22 on November 21st.
Of last year, yeah.
Of last year, yeah. Because this is already the beginning of 2023. Okay, well, I guess I don't remember. Maybe I'm the one getting old and I don't remember what I read 11 months ago. What are you studying at the University of Chicago?
Yeah, so I'm actually majoring in urban studies and starting to work on my thesis project right now.
Interesting. So it's a thesis project for your master's, or it's a PhD already?
Just undergrad.
Undergrad, okay,
Yeah.
Got it. And I suppose your nerdiness, as you call it, for geography is helping, or not, with the urban studies that you're undergoing?
Yeah, I'd say it definitely has helped out a lot. Yeah, having a sort of a base knowledge of cities around the world and urban geography in the U.S. especially, I think has definitely helped.
What's next after your undergrad?
Oh, that's a good question. Right now, I'm planning to take a little bit of a gap year, I guess, in a sense, and just sort of work on the channel for a while, apply to grad schools, look for job opportunities as well, and just see what comes up and what that year will bring me next.
So you graduate from your undergrad in June, right? The upcoming summer.
That's right. Yeah.
Got it. And then you'll take a year off to decide what you want to do, whether it's a master's degree or find work And in the meantime, continue your YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's my hope, is to really put in some time and see if the YouTube channel really is successful, because I would love to make this something that's a full-time career in a way.
Interesting. And you already have, I think, very close to 32,000 subscribers at the date of this recording. We'll talk about YouTube in a moment. I keep saying this. I'd like to talk about GeoGuessr because the reason I think that people are interested in these videos is these interviews with the pro players. In your case, you're special because, like a few others, you're also one of the most prolific and the most well-known YouTubers and streamers. Before we get to that, what got you into GeoGuessr in the first place?
Ooh, I'm honestly not too sure how I exactly found the game. I remember picking it up my junior year of high school, so 2017, around that time. But yeah, I'm not really sure how I found it. I was probably just searching for fun GeoGuessr or like geography games to play. And then that one caught my eye. I started playing, and I haven't looked back since.
How much do you practice these days?
It's been hard to practice a lot recently, especially going into my senior year and things like that. So I haven't had all that much time, but I usually try to play a few games every day, and I get a lot of practice in when I'm streaming as well. I find that's when I have a solid few chunk of hours to play games and learn from the community as well.
So I've interviewed a few of the more junior pro players like Ning and Party who are still under 18, and their worry, at least for some of them, is that they will not have the time to even play when they go to university. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, that's definitely something that I notice, going into university, and as the workload increases and, you start getting outside jobs as well and just having more responsibilities, it can definitely be hard to find time to play.
What advice would you have for someone who's starting to play? Because they will notice people like yourself, like Rainbolt, like all these pro players. And the default reaction, my default reaction was, that's just impossible. Oh, they're cheating. And then when you start playing, you realize, no, there's all this metadata and just this practice, like in every field, I guess, in the universe, with practice comes experience and expertise. What would you say to someone who's starting today so they don't get discouraged when they start playing? Or which video on your channel should they check so they don't get discouraged?
Oh man, that's a great question. Yeah, I think just in general, for not getting discouraged, I think people have to recognize, it might seem absolutely mind blowing at first when see one of Rainbolt's TikToks or something like that. But I think being aware that it is very much so something that you can learn and pick up as you practice. I think even just playing a few games, you get a sense for, okay, so you have to look for Google cars and poles and lines on the road and things. And I think if you just put in a little bit of time and just keep an open mind as you're starting out, you can see very quickly that it's something you can learn.
In your case, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, you're one of the best players for identifying specific US states. Isn't that correct?
I suppose so.
But you have a bunch of other American players or American-based players, and you certainly stand out. And I think the US is certainly a challenge, certainly for players like myself, the big countries and like Russia and Canada and the United States. Is there anything that is remaining a challenge for you?
Well, within those, within the US specifically?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe within the US. Are there things that still surprise you?
Yeah, honestly, I am still sometimes surprised at just the sheer geographic diversity of the U.S., especially on the West Coast and the mountains, out there. There's so many different landscapes, and you can find surprisingly dry areas in states you thought were more rainy, and, things like that. And it just, every day you find something new.
And overall, in the game of GeoGuessr, is there any specific area or type of gameplay that you find particularly challenging still? Whether it's a battle royale mode, the classic GeoGuessr type of a play, or any tournament style that you find particularly difficult. I'm curious to see where your areas of improvement lie, because you're so good from my perspective that I'm curious to see what you consider still to be an area where, hey, I can improve in that area. I may want or not to spend the time to improve in that area, but I'm curious to see your perspective.
Yeah, I'd say for sure, a lot of the large countries, especially places like Indonesia and Russia, I still have a lot of trouble with. I know there are so many new metas coming out about polls and things like that, especially Indonesia and Brazil, places like this, and I just haven't had the time to, memorize all these new new tricks and things, so I still feel vastly behind in a lot of those countries, the really big ones.
Do you have a system in place when it comes to memorizing things, or something that surprises you? Do you take a screenshot? Do you note it down somewhere, or just practice and hope it stays in your young, still young brain and it doesn't slip away over time?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I have much of a system really, but yeah, I think just practicing a lot and keeping in mind things like, okay, that landscape is found on this island. All right, I'll keep a mental note of that. Yeah, that's mostly been my process.
Anything that surprised you, or you thought, oh, that location is so interesting and wonderful, you want to visit that location one day?
Yeah, so I think one maybe notable example is the Czech Republic. I played some Czech Republic videos back way a couple of years ago, and yeah, I just really loved exploring the country. The Czech fans who found the video were really into it, and they were really happy that I was exploring the country. And yeah, it got me really fascinated with the Czech Republic, and also it has a surprising connection to Chicago too, and that's something I hadn't really realized before.
How so? Explain it.
Yeah, there's a good number of Czech immigrants who would come to Chicago. We have a neighborhood here called Pilsen, which is named after the city in the Czech Republic. And yeah, there's a pretty strong legacy here, which I hadn't really thought about. And yeah, playing the Czech Republic map in GeoGuessr and interacting with fans from there was really eye-opening, and I really want to go to the Czech Republic now.
It's interesting. It is also very refreshing because when I ask this question, I get very often, I think the top 3 locations that have come up so far from the pro players. Can you guess which these three are, by the way? Maybe you have watched some of the videos, so it's maybe not such a surprise to you.
Ooh.
But which 3 do you think come up most often?
Oh man, I feel like maybe Japan comes up a lot.
No,
or,
I
really?
came up once, I think, with Ning.
Oh, okay.
I think, if I remember correctly.
Try
again.
Man, I'm not sure.
You're not losing any ranking points. Don't worry.
Let's see. What
mountainous?
Could be mountainous?
Yes.
Maybe. Would anyone ever say Kyrgyzstan? I don't know.
No, it's actually Norway, New Zealand, and Chile. Yeah,
yes.
These 3 come up quite often, but maybe I haven't interviewed enough people, so the sample size is too small. So I'm not blaming you for not realizing this. But yeah, these 3 came up quite often. So that's why I'm saying it's refreshing, what you say about the Czech Republic and the reaction you got from your fan base over there. What I did know about Chicago, where I've never been, I've been to the US many, many times, but for reasons you can understand, considering the headquarters of my employer, I have gone more often to California than anywhere else. And what I do know, because of my Polish origins, as you maybe can guess from the one section of my family name, I believe there's a huge Polish community, also diaspora, in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. So it's actually a surprise to me that you talk about the Czech community also in Chicago. So it seems a lot of Eastern Europeans have congregated there. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, we have a huge Polish population. Yeah, still a good number of Czech population. Yeah, it's really interesting that a big diaspora here.
Have you been able to travel around the United States or around the world much?
Yeah, thankfully I visited a lot of the U.S. Mostly through road trips when I was younger, with my family. I've been to 47 states now, so just missing Alaska, Hawaii, and Vermont.
Okay, so you're almost. Okay, so with the presidential campaign coming soon, you just need these 3 states, right? And then you're ready.
Yeah.
All right. Any countries abroad?
Yeah, so I guess the one I visited the most is the UK. I have a lot of family there. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been there quite a few times, and then a few countries close by in Europe. France, Germany, places like that.
Okay. What about other countries that you'd like to visit beyond the Czech Republic, which is just number 1 apparently?
Yeah, I guess beyond that, I really want to visit Japan. I also have some family connections to Japan, and then, man, I just want to see everything in the world. Honestly, that's one beautiful thing about GeoGuessr is you just see the whole world from a different perspective, and it's just made me want to visit pretty much everywhere now.
I completely understand the feeling. As I mentioned earlier, I noticed your absence at the World Cup. I guess, being in Paris is not easy for everyone to go, and quite expensive also to fly internationally, and you're busy with millions of things. But what was the reason for your absence, if I'm allowed to ask, of course?
Yeah, I had a trip planned to go to Madison, Wisconsin with my family that weekend, and yeah, it was just bad timing. All
right. Otherwise, you would want to participate in World Championships? Is it something
absolutely.
You're competitive?
Oh, I would love to be at the next one. Hopefully it's in the US. It's a bit easier to get to.
That's fair. Let's talk about your YouTube experience, your YouTube life, and especially because you've mentioned that you'd like to see if you can make it more of a live thing, I guess, or the professional thing. How do you get started? I think there's a lot of people, a lot of players also who are pondering, oh, should I stream? Should I start YouTube? I've talked to a bunch of them. They know they have the potential, but they know that it also takes a lot of work. So I'm curious as to what got you started, and maybe what tips you can share for others who may want to start their own channel, maybe not related to GeoGuessr, but how did you get started with launching your own channel?
Yeah, so I guess what really launched my Chicago Geographer channel is it's a funny story actually. Back in my senior year of high school, my friend and I, we just sort of placed a bet with each other that we would start our own YouTube channels, and whoever had the most subs by prom in the spring would be the winner of this little bet. So that's why I created this channel in the first place. And my friend never actually made his channel, so I ended up winning by default. But yeah, that bet just sort of launched me it made me create this channel. I had done YouTube before with a less, a smaller channel, but yeah, it switched over to this one pretty much because of that bet that I made.
What made you realize that this could become more professional for you? Because I guess at the beginning, as everybody starts with a low count of subscribers and there's traffic, and then you're thinking, oh, that can be something maybe I can do more professionally. What was the tipping point for you, if there is one?
Yeah, I think I'd started making videos about, geographic facts. I made a video about the highest points in each state of the US and things like that. And those started to do pretty well at one point, and I realized, okay, this is actually making a decent little bit of money, and people are really enjoying this content, subscribing to my channel, and I realized like there is definitely an audience for geography and also GeoGuessr too, because we had some overlap from people who found the highest points video who would come and watch the GeoGuessr videos too, and I realized, yeah, people are really into this stuff. And then when GeoGuessr started going more mainstream too, I realized, yeah, this is definitely, there's definitely a lot of potential here for this to become, a high-level professional type of endeavor.
Was there a certain threshold in terms of traffic that made you think, oh, this is clearly hitting its niche or its target audience, and I can expand into what you said, right, beyond GeoGuessr, geography tips or geography facts that people could find interesting? Is there a specific tipping point in terms of a metric that you were looking at and you thought, okay, if I hit this, then I'm going to consider this more seriously?
Yeah, I don't think I ever had like a set metric per se, but yeah, I think, just always watching the analytics and seeing, okay, what's doing well and, what are people looking for in videos. Yeah, I think, I'm not sure of a specific tipping point, but yeah, just keeping an eye on analytics.
How do you keep the motivation to keep going? Because you post extremely frequently, I believe like 3 times a week on average, correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's what I aim for.
How do you keep the motivation going while studying at the same time, which is quite impressive? Because you say you don't have much time to practice and play, but you do, and you stream, and you post videos on YouTube, and it's all very professional content. So how do you do it? First of all, how do you keep the motivation?
Honestly, yeah, it's been really hard to stay motivated, especially, when the workload at university gets a lot heavier and things. I realize, man, I just have no time at all to be making videos right now. And yeah, it can be really tough to keep pushing forward, but I always remind myself that, I love this community. The people in it are so dedicated, and being able to share my experience in that community as part of that is really what keeps me going. And just, being part of this amazing just group of geography nerds, it inspires me to keep pursuing my passion.
Do you have a backlog of videos so that you can also breathe at times when you're more busy with other parts of your life? What's your strategy to be able to cope? I'm curious on the organizational part, the time aspect of how you manage your channel, again, to inspire others and make them realize, hey, it's a lot of work, but you can do it if you do X, Y, and Z, for instance.
Yeah, so I usually do try to record videos a bit in advance, and yeah, just, sort of bulk record, get 3 or 4 done at once during a given day, and then, have that ready to edit throughout the week and upload. So yeah, I think working ahead in advance definitely helps.
What is one tip that you'd share with a novice YouTuber who'd like to get started? What is 1 or 2 or 3, but at least one thing that you think, oh, I wish I had known that before getting more serious into sharing or creating YouTube videos?
Yeah, I think one thing for sure is don't get discouraged by the algorithm or how your videos are doing at first, because it can definitely be really hard to gain traction and things like that. So yeah, I would say don't get discouraged. Just look at what's doing well and try to build off of that. And then also another thing is you're definitely going to get some sort of hate comments or backlash of some kind, and just be expecting that, and just keep an open mind and don't let it get yourself too down.
Have you gotten a lot of these hate comments yourself?
Thankfully, not too many, but
Okay.
there have definitely been some people that don't like my content style or things like that, and you just have to try to ignore that, and also incorporate it into how you're going about making videos. Think, okay, maybe this is something I should try to change for the future, or avoid saying, things like that.
How do you feel the community of GeoGuessr, going back to GeoGuessr for a second, should evolve? Are there anything that you feel maybe either the game itself or the community around it should evolve in a particular way you'd like to see more of or less of? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, I really would like the GeoGuessr community to keep building and sharing the wealth of meta that we have. I think one thing that I've noticed is that we have so many different meta clues and things like that out there, but not really the greatest centralized resource. And I think there are a lot of websites and groups now really trying to focus in on that. So that's something I'd love to see, is a really centralized place where everyone can compile their information, and keep on encouraging people to not get too bogged down with all this meta that it's all scattered across different documents and places like that. So that's what I'd like to see, is something really centralized.
That's fair. Let's go back to YouTube. You mentioned you potentially would like to make this a professional thing. How far are you to be able to achieve that and feel, okay, fine, I can dedicate more time?
Yeah, at this point, it just sort of fluctuates with how much I'm earning and things like that in a given month. But yeah, I'd say I still have a ways to go at this point. But it's within reach, I think, if I put in the work and really try my best.
Tell me something that nobody knows about you, because you're, again, a visible figure in the community. You share a lot of stuff. Tell me something, or tell us something that nobody knows about you, that you feel comfortable sharing, obviously.
I don't think I've ever really mentioned this, in any sort of context in GeoGuessr, is that I am a synesthete. If you know what synesthesia is.
I'm not certain I know the word in English.
Okay. Yeah, so it's basically a neurological phenomenon where it's a crossing of the senses, is what it's described as a lot. And the most common one is where when you read letters and numbers, each one has their own sort of color associated with it when you read it. And that's something that I experience myself.
So this is some kind of a problem, but it seems like an advantage, a huge asset, to be able to associate letters with colors.
Yeah, it's not really any sort of detriment or anything like that. It's just sort of something that I've always experienced, and it honestly, I think scientists have found that it's more common than they thought, and that maybe people don't even realize, when they're reading letters and numbers, that each one, in addition to being like black on a white piece of paper, it also has like A is red or something like that.
So you associate it, or you see it as a different color?
It's hard to describe what it exactly is. Like I see it, but it also isn't there. Like I know it's not that color, but when I look at the letter A, I see that it's red. It's very very difficult to explain. Yeah.
No, absolutely fascinating. I don't think I like to think of myself as being quite well read, but I honestly didn't know about this aspect. Do you mind pronouncing the word again slowly for my?
Yeah, it's synesthesia.
Okay. I'll put the word on the screen so that other ignorants like me can also understand and learn a bit more. You want to talk more about it? Like, does it mean like every single letter and number also is associated with a color?
Yeah, every letter and every number. Yeah.
But then, do you have multiple letters and numbers associated with the same color, or do you have such a wide range and palette of colors?
Yeah, I think some letters definitely have similar colors. For me, for some reason, a lot of letters are orange or some shade of it, but it's never like the exact same shade of orange. It varies in like brightness and things like that.
Oh wow!
So yeah, each one is it's similar, but each one is very slightly unique in a way.
And does it bother you if you see a number or a character or a letter that is in the incorrect color for you?
Honestly, yeah, not too much. Like if I think one time, if you read like rainbow text, or something like that, I can be like, oh wow, why are all the letters the wrong color? But yeah, usually it doesn't really bother me much.
Okay. Does it help you with memorizing anything? Like if you associate with a color, would you more easily remember, like let's say your phone number because you have an association with the color? Does it work that way, or am I completely imagining things?
Honestly, it might, like subconsciously. I haven't noticed it really, to that extent, but I think maybe it does help, in the back of my mind in a way.
Interesting. How did you discover that this was actually a thing and not just your mind playing a trick on you, and there was actually a known scientific thing?
Yeah, so I was working on a science fair project with my dad in, oh man, maybe 4th grade, years and years ago now, and we were trying to decide what markers to use to write our headings, on our big poster board. And I immediately said, okay, that's going to be green, this is blue, this is red. And my dad was like, why are you so sure of these colors? And I said, well, that's what color the letters are. And he said, what are you talking about? And he had read recently about this, and we sort of put 2 and 2 together after that. Wow.
Okay. Interesting story. Thanks for sharing. When you're not recording videos, when you're not studying, when you're not playing GeoGuessr, how are you spending your time? If there's any time left, obviously.
Yeah, honestly, not too much of it left, but I love biking. I'm a really avid biker. And Chicago is a really nice city. We have actually decent bike infrastructure, unlike a lot of the U.S., unfortunately. But
do you have a racing bike? What kind of bike do you have?
I have sort of a hybrid bike right now, yeah.
Okay.
Sort of a cross between race and road.
Got it. All right, so you do cycle quite often? What's the distance that you cover?
Yeah, I usually go for maybe 15 miles on a good round trip. I have a favorite route where I bike down to the Indiana border, which isn't all that far from the U Chicago campus. So that's one of my favorite routes.
You've made a huge mistake. You've given way too information to all the other geography nerds out there. Now they can exactly pinpoint where you are right now.
Oh no.
So you went next to the Indiana border coming from the campus.
Oh man.
If I say the word successful, is there anyone that comes to mind? Can be a family member, can be someone in the community of GeoGuessr, can be someone alive, a very well-known figure in the media, someone who's not alive anymore. Anyone who springs to mind when I say successful.
Yeah, I guess thinking sort of, in the broader like YouTube scope of things, someone like Markiplier might come to mind for me as someone who is really just talented at his craft and also talented at, bringing that to a wide audience and telling stories. I like to think of his Unis Honest project. I'm not sure if you heard about that. But yeah, he's just, I really am inspired by his dedication and the way he's able to create content. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I guess like my mind is on the YouTube thing, but yeah, that comes to mind for sure. Markiplier.
Are you in touch with the other well-known YouTube creators in the GeoGuessr community, like Rainbolt and Zigzag and Joe Peter? Do you exchange any tips on or any thoughts on this cross-pollination of ideas between the 4 or 5 of you who are very active and, apart from Rainbolt, have otherwise a very similar following, right? If I'm not mistaken, Zigzag is around 40,000 subscribers. Joe Peter has around, I think, 35,000 or and thereabouts. You're just right behind. So I'm curious about any collaboration that you're having between the few of you.
Yeah, we've definitely all talked together before. Honestly, we haven't done all that much, I guess, in the way of sharing ideas, but we have definitely tried to put together collabs and just things like that. But that's definitely something I'd like to do more is collaborate and sort of carve out a good path for all of us to succeed.
The reason I'm asking you this question is twofold. Number one, if I'm not mistaken, but again, this is just me, watching the videos and I don't watch everything because it's just not humanly possible. But I believe Joe Peter also quit his job, right, a few months ago to try and launch his streaming and YouTube career a bit more full time, right? So you're confirming this. So that's why I was curious about asking you, are you sharing tips? Because you seem to be in a very similar category. I don't know if he's maybe started a bit earlier, maybe he has a bit more experience under his belt. I have no idea, but he's actually started to do this. So I'm wondering if he's inspired you to try and follow suit, or if you have any insights into what can you can apply from his own experience.
Yeah, I definitely, when I saw that he was quitting his job and going full time creating content, I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like GeoGuessr itself has created jobs for people. And that was definitely really amazing to see. I was really happy for him. And yeah, it's got me thinking about if it's something that I could pursue for myself as well.
The second reason I said there were two reasons why I'm asking you this. One was Joe Peter actually quitting his job. The other reason is something I said and remarked just before we started the interview, is that your voice, and I'm sure everyone has noticed, or many people have noticed, has such a low pitch. And I think it plays to your advantage because it gives that aura of seriousness and professional flavor to your videos. But I was asking you, first of all, if others had remarked the same thing, and you confirmed. But also if, maybe you wanted to use that voice to your advantage to creating some podcasts or radio type of content, although, YouTube and video content is also very, very similar in any case. So any reaction regarding your voice in terms of what maybe others have recommended or said about it? Because anyway, it's just very striking, at least to me, to my ears.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And yes, I have heard from, friends, family, in YouTube comments as well, that people really like my voice. And yeah, I've definitely thought about, pursuing some sort of like voice acting or things like that. And yeah, just some way that I can use the voice that I have. But yeah, it's definitely something I've thought about, but not sure what direction I would really take it.
It's not here to flatter you, but I don't think it's just the voice. It's also because you have obviously naturally a perfect English, or in this case American accent, and also you're very structured and composed. You don't have any hesitations, or very few hesitations. You don't have these hums, or the fluff in the way you speak, which is usually something that it comes more naturally to people like me who are not native English speakers. Or even if you're a native English speaker, you may have all these hums and hesitations. So beyond the voice, you also have these little things, which I think you can use to your advantage. Anyway, food for thought, but it seems it is already in your thoughts.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
You have a gigantic billboard that you can put, I guess, on a highway anywhere on the planet. What would it say?
Whew, wow, that is a really interesting question, yeah. I'd probably put a link to my YouTube channel or something like that. Or maybe some sort of encouragement about Chicago, because I absolutely love this city, and I think it often gets a bad rap in the media and things like that. So I guess some sort of combination of the two. Like, Chicago's amazing, and also, hey, I make YouTube videos.
And I'll put obviously the link in the description of this video. Are you originally from Chicago? Because I forgot to ask you. You're studying there, but yeah.
Yes, I've lived here my whole life, yeah.
Got it. So you would not move to any other state if you were given the choice? That's a trick question.
I would love to stay here in Chicago, but if work or something takes me elsewhere, then I'll reluctantly leave.
Since you've visited 47 states in the U.S., are there any states or particular location in the U.S. that you particularly like or recommend to others?
Yeah, I'd say one city that I really enjoy is Seattle. I love the vibes of Seattle, and I just had a fantastic time when I visited. And another comes to mind is Pittsburgh for some reason. I had a great time visiting Pittsburgh. I think it's a beautiful city, and I guess one more would be New York. It feels like Chicago, but like massive, Chicago on steroids in a way, but it feels like home.
That's fair. Back to your YouTube channel, and we'll wrap up the interview shortly because I keep talking and making you talk. What would be one thing that could help you with your YouTube career, whether it's external support, help, or something the viewers could do, or anyone who's watching this video? Is there one thing that you think could help grow your YouTube channel or grow your YouTube career? Anything that you have in mind?
Yeah, I think one thing that's really become an issue, especially just universally on YouTube, is the algorithm and how videos get any traction at all within YouTube itself. And I think that what viewers can do to really help is always making sure they're liking videos if they enjoyed it, and leaving a comment if they have anything to say. Just little things like that really help boost a video's performance in the algorithm, and show that the people watching it are actually enjoying it, rather than clicking and then not having any response to it. So I think that's definitely something that can help, especially in 2023 when the algorithm is just absolutely so devastatingly brutal right now.
What makes you say right now? Did you notice anything specific?
Yeah, I think, YouTube changed some policy. I think they said if any I forget what it was, but in the first 15 seconds or so, if there's, I think, swearing, that video automatically gets age restricted. So they've been just changing up a lot of different things that makes it hard for videos to get traction at all. And it's just been getting, you know, all these little things compounding upon each other over the years. And yeah, it's just something I've been noticing.
But you have not been swearing, as far as I recall from watching your videos.
That's right, yeah. I try my best to avoid it.
So, okay, in short, you're saying engagement, right? If you like the content, engage, leave a comment, share it, press the like button. This is the common refrain, I suppose, for the magic or not so magic algorithm that is deciding which videos get views. That's what I'm noticing a little bit on my very humble channel, that actually a lot of the content is indeed watched mostly by non-subscribers. So indeed their interaction is vital to make things a bit more visible. I believe, and I've seen this actually for even for massive channels non-related to GeoGuessr, right? Like anything between 50% to 80% of the traffic seems to be coming from just browsing on the homepage by people who are not even subscribed. So I suspect you're probably encountering the same analytics, more or less.
Yeah, for sure. Especially on, you know, videos that do more well, is that, yeah, you see that it's just, you know, brand new people who are not subscribed who are watching it. And yeah, and if they don't, you know, interact with it, don't choose to subscribe, then YouTube might see that as an indication that your videos are not what they're looking for. And so yeah, that's definitely something that's a trend.
All right, so anyone who's watching this, please go to Chicago Geographer's channel. And if you like the content, which is really, really good, because I really enjoy watching your content. I think I've actually done one video where I played virtually against you, but we'll hopefully do it live. Yeah, well, you know, you have these play along links. So yeah, fine, play along. I'm going to play along. But obviously you completely thrashed me asynchronously, and I had to recognize your skill level in a very humble way. So in any case, your content is great. I mean it. Please go and watch it if you see this video over the next few decades. Hopefully YouTube will remain. So go and watch it and engage with the content as Gavin has just mentioned. Any final few words you'd like to share with our audience? Any things you'd like to share related to GeoGuessr or not? It's completely up to you.
Man, I guess I would just say that I absolutely love the GeoGuessr community. I don't think I've loved any online community more than this. It's a fantastic game. If anyone watching this hasn't played GeoGuessr before, go give it a try. I think you're going to like it. And yeah, that's what I would say. It's fantastic. Love the community.
Thank you for the kind words towards the community members, and thank you for your time, Gavin. It was lovely speaking with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.